killing the B1 base. Meanwhile, I'm over here killing all the B1 turtles. Good job, buddy. There's a lot of guns on this thing. You know, there's 30 cal up here, 30 cal up here, 37 mil up there, 75 mil right there, and if Gaijin actually bought us 2 more 30 cals right here. But you know, something feels off, you know? Feels like something is missing. Alright. Maybe you can use more? Yes. Okay. More guns? Yeah. Even more guns. Yeah. That's right. More guns. More guns. More guns. More guns. More guns. Yeah. Hey guys, it's Jimmy and welcome back to another episode of Heroes and Generals, but it's War Thunder. And of course, now that we've moved out of the light tank line, we are now moving on to the medium tank. And starting off, we are playing the M3 medium tank, or nicknamed Lee, after the Civil War General Robert E. Lee. And right off the bat, I can confidently say that this is such a blast to actually play compared to what you have in Heroes and Generals. Those of you who played the M3 Lee would know exactly what I'm talking about. But anyway, let's break it down to you and I will show you why this thing is so much better to play in War Thunder than it is in Heroes and Generals. So first things first, armor. You have 15mm right here, the slope is 30 degrees. At 2.7 battle rating, it's a bit of an awkward situation owing to the fact that if you go up too high a battle rating, like up to 3.7 maybe, you will come across tanks that don't give a shit that you have this. So that means this armor doesn't really work when you get up tiered. But at 2.7 battle rating, that also means you won't get down tiered as well to face 1.7 to 2.3 tanks. And when that happens, yeah, not a lot of guns can actually go through this if you get down tiered. So this M3 Lee is kinda in an awkward situation, unfortunately. If it's too high a battle rating, it's shit. It's too low a battle rating, it's basically a god. And then moving down, you have only 38mm right here, just like the side armor and all over. Doesn't really seem like it's a very pathetic thing to have on the upper front plate, but the good news is that it's sloped at 55 degrees, so that means on average the effective thickness is around 60 to 65mm. Not a lot of guns can actually go through this, you'll be surprised when you get down tiered. As well as moving on to the gun basket right here. I'm really not too concerned about them penetrating this, even though it doesn't really seem like it's a lot of armor. Mainly due to the fact that it may be 38mm, there's no angles, but it's 38mm with another 38mm behind it. So that makes it 76mm right here. So yeah, I'm really not too concerned about them penetrating this anytime soon. In the event that they do, either the gun barrel will bounce it, or the gun breech will just eat it. And then moving down, you have 50mm right here. That is curved in some areas, so that means you're either shooting at 50 degrees of slope, or you're shooting at 0. In the event that it did penetrate, I'm really not too concerned, owing to the fact that the transmission's in the way. You will eat most of the shells should it penetrate. And then moving up, we have the turret armor. You have 50mm right here, sloped at 45-46 degrees around, and 15mm at all angles on this turret. So I'm really not too concerned about them penetrating my front, maybe the sides, but yeah, as I would say about most tanks, even the heavy tanks, the minute the enemy gets onto your side, you're basically screwed. So I'm more concerned about the front, which is actually pretty well sloped for an early tank design. 45 degrees, 46 degrees. Nothing is actually getting through this when you get down tiered. Only issues that if you get up tiered and you face something like a Panzer IV F2 or a T-34-76, they can actually punch through this pretty easily. But here's the thing though, if you can punch through this pretty easily, the real question is, why didn't you shoot this? So all in all, even if you play, it does actually kind of feel a little bit like a Sherman, which is why it's at an awkward battle rating. Too low a battle rating is basically god. But here's the thing though, if you come across this tank and you have no idea how to penetrate, you can shoot this. 38mm right here, that is sloped at near 0 to about 30 degrees. So there's not a lot of armor you can actually go through here. And not to mention, if you do penetrate this, this is the center mesh round right here, where you get not only the gunner for the 75mm, the driver, you also get the gunner for the 37mm. So with all this armor and firepower, how is the mobility on this thing? It's actually not too bad. For a tank that has that kind of armor and this amount of firepower, you're only weighing around 27.7 tons with 400 horsepower engine, so that means you do have a pretty decent mobility in this thing. 39 kilometers an hour is not a lie. Only issue is firstly, you have a narrow set of tracks, so that means driving off-road is going to be a problem. And the other issue is sometimes turning in this thing feels a little bit sluggish, but that's about it. You can take this thing out and then get into a good position very quickly. Unless of course you're facing BTs and Pumas. And then moving on, the firepower of this thing, you have two of them. Firstly, we are talking about the 37mm right here. 37mm M5 cannon, this is basically the same cannon you will be seeing on the Stuarts. So that means 37mm, this is the shell we'll be firing. Armor piercing cap ballistic shell that pens up to 87mm of armor with no explosive mass. And if you have seen my M5A1 video, you will know that this round can actually do some serious work when you're facing something below 2.7 battle rating. Just be careful that above 2.7 battle rating, this shell may struggle a little bit to penetrate the tanks you come across, so that's something you need to be careful of. And now the other aspects of the gun, you can carry up to 179 rounds of ammunition. If I'll be honest, as you can see in this X-ray view, you might want to carry a little bit less shells, owing to the fact that you look like an explosive accident waiting to happen. So carry less shells, I say maybe 40 shells at most, owing to the fact that you fire at least 2 shells just to take out one tank. You're doing great, 3.1 seconds, I am running as per crew with maxed out weapon reloading, but even at stock, you go up to at least around 3.7, 4.0 seconds. Vertical guidance, -7 gun depression. That's something you need to keep in mind because firstly, -7, that's not too bad. It's not the greatest, but it's not too bad in terms of gun depression. But the reason is because you're a much higher profile on the 37mm around here. So that means if you traverse hills, you can find this a bit of an issue to aim with. And finally, gun stabilizer vertical just like every other American tanks at this battle rating. And then moving on, we have the M2 75mm cannon, which is the predecessor to the 75mm on the Sherman. And as 75mm goes, this is what we'll be firing. The M61 shot. Armor piercing cap ballistic cap shell that pens up to 97mm of armor with 65 grams of explosive mass. Now granted, you pen a little bit less than the Sherman 75. In some cases, you will notice it. But the good news is that you're not too high of a battle rating, so the event that you do get up tiered, at most you face 3.3 tanks, and they don't really have that kind of armor either. Or best case scenario, you get down tiered, yeah, this thing will just shred everything you look at. And all the other aspects of the gun, you have 50 rounds of ammunition. I say carry less, maybe around 30 rounds at most, owing to the fact that the biggest downside of having 2 guns in your tank is that you are carrying a butt ton of ammunition all around the tank that yeah, it's just waiting to be detonated anytime soon. So I say carry a little bit less, maybe 30 rounds at most. And then reloading rate 5.1 seconds. That's actually pretty excellent for a 75mm. Now granted, again I am running expert crew on with maxed out weapon reloading, that's why it's at 5.1 seconds. At stock it can be up to around 6 seconds. It's not too bad still, but something you need to be careful of is that you will find yourself in situations where you get caught with your pants down. That's when the 37mm comes in play. Horizontal guidance plus minus 15 degrees, that's actually above average I say, which is not bad because vertical guidance, -9 gun depression, that's actually not bad. It's not the greatest, it's not the average of -10, but it's not too horrible. Not to mention, you are a low profile than the 37mm, so that means -9 gun depression is going to feel like 10 or 11. And finally, again, like most American tanks at this battle rating, you have a gun stabilizer vertigo. That again is effective around 25 kilometers an hour. So all in all, how does this compare with Heroes and Generals? And why do I say this thing is so much better? Well, here's the thing though. In Heroes and Generals, you don't exactly get to man the 37mm. Which makes sense. You definitely want to man the 75mm, which is why when you're driving the tank and shooting at the same time, you will be manning the 75mm. Unfortunately, if you man the 75mm, that means you don't have access to the 30 cal or the 30 cal on top here. And why is that an issue? Is because if you don't man this thing, that means your teammate will. And you pray to God that that guy is reliable on the 37mm. There is not somebody who just randomly spams the 37mm, hoping that it would actually give him the satisfaction of getting more than 10 kills in the game. And not to mention, one way to actually increase the survivability of your tank is to play hold down. And that means you find a cover where most of your tank is hidden. Enough that it covers your whole of your tank, but not enough to block your turret up here. The thing is, if you play hold down, it's your 37mm doing the work. If you come across an enemy penta in Heroes and Generals, yeah, this 37mm is not gonna do anything to it in the front. Unless of course they're dumb enough to show their broadsides. And at the same time, since you're not manning the 37mm, you have to switch over to the 37mm to find a gun. If there's a teammate sitting on it, that means you're not going to do that anytime soon. And not to mention, you can't really move when you're manning the 37mm should you need to. And if you're wondering, why not just come out and use a 75mm? That would expose most of your tank. Because one thing about hold down in Heroes and Generals is that there's literally next to nothing in the turret. So that means when you take damage, you don't get bonus damage from the enemy. But the second you want to use a 75mm out of cover, yeah, your entire hull is exposed to the elements. But here in War Thunder, we don't care. Firstly, if they can penetrate this, c'est la vie. They can penetrate this anyway, so who cares? But at least in War Thunder, you can return the favor 10 times over with both of these guns at the same time. And not to mention, with this thing, you don't face a panther. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about the tank. Now let's take this thing out and basically show you that why the M3 Lee in War Thunder is so much worth playing than Heroes and Generals. Let's do this. What's the guy on B? Oh. That person, yeah. That's right.
We've captured most of the strategic zones.
There we go. Nobody, back up! Oh my god! Price card level. My body stick. In the 37. You dumbass!
We've captured that zone.
That was from my left or what? Game, you're not making any sense. Leadership 105. Get him. Is it ASU?
We're controlling most of the zones. Attention to the map! Attention to the designated grid.
Yeah, what was that game? Should we interrupt his repair time? No, I'm not afraid of you, buddy. How did that penetrate me and get my engine? And that's why you don't ignore the need to repair button, man. That's why. You fighting, bro? Oh. Dude, you have don't you have heat shells? I hate that they give the Swedish tank the same sound effect as the T-34s. I think he's a T-34 next to me. Yep, it's on the road.
Attention to the designated grid zone!
No limit. Double tap it. How many studs are there? Oh my god! Damn it, I missed!
The enemy is winning. We must counter. Most of the zones are taken by the enemy. The radio operator gun is unconscious. Attack the A point.
Where am I stuck on? Get off this damn thing!
The enemy controls most of the strategic zones. Our forces have captured the zone. The enemy is winning. We've got to counterattack.
What?
Attack the C point.
There's still somebody on me.
We no longer have the advantage. Let's go! Our sector is under artillery barrage!
Get out here, jackass. Oh no, I fucked up. Oh, you're not gonna bite? That's bad. Yeah, had to risk it. Who scared the crap out of me?
The enemy is preparing for artillery barrage. Repeat, the enemy is preparing for artillery barrage.
Not happening, buddy.
Allied forces have captured the zone.
75. 所以 T70 chassis 是时候more特别的硬挺。Oh shit! And this is why you don't time. That's okay though.
Allied forces have captured a zone.
Should use my 37 to knock the Murican's engine. There's just 2 more missiles to heal.